The rarest human on Earth. What if I told you that somewhere on Earth there could exist a person so incredibly rare that the odds of them being born are smaller than winning the lottery, over and over again? Not because they're the smartest, not because they're the richest, and not because they're famous, but because they possess an almost impossible combination of the rarest human traits ever discovered. Traits so uncommon that most people will never meet even one person with them. Now imagine combining all of those traits into a single human being. Would such a person actually exist, or is it simply impossible? Today, we're going to find out. What does the rarest human really mean? When most people hear the phrase the rarest person on Earth, they imagine someone with extraordinary intelligence, unbelievable talent, or perhaps someone unlike anyone else. But that's not what we're talking about today. Instead, we're asking a scientific question. What would happen if one person inherited several of the rarest biological, genetic, and neurological traits known to science? Each of these traits is already incredibly uncommon on its own, but when you begin combining them, the probability drops faster than you can imagine. By the end of this video, we'll calculate those odds step by step. Rare trait number 1, belonging to an extremely small ethnic group. When we think about rarity, we usually focus on physical features, but sometimes rarity begins long before genetics. It begins with where you're born. Across the world, there are thousands of ethnic groups. Some include millions of people, others have only a few thousand, and a handful have populations so small that they can fit inside a single village. Some isolated communities have remained separated from the rest of humanity for hundreds or even thousands of years. Because of this isolation, their languages, traditions, cultures, and even certain genetic characteristics have become incredibly unique. Simply being born into one of these tiny populations already makes someone far rarer than the average person on Earth. But remember, this is only the first trait. The next one is even more extraordinary. Rare trait number 2. Albinism. Now imagine meeting someone whose skin is almost as white as fresh snow, whose hair looks completely snow white, and whose eyelashes and eyebrows are so pale that they almost seem invisible. Even their eyes can appear light blue, gray, or sometimes even pinkish or reddish under certain lighting conditions. At first glance, it almost looks as if they came from another world, but this isn't magic. It's a rare genetic condition called albinism. People with albinism are born with little or no melanin, the natural pigment that gives color to our skin, hair, and eyes. Because melanin also helps the eyes develop properly, many people with albinism experience vision problems and increased sensitivity to sunlight. Globally, this condition is incredibly rare, affecting only a very small fraction of the world's population. Now imagine someone who already belongs to one of the world's smallest ethnic group and is also born with albinism. The chances have already become extraordinarily small, but surprisingly, the next rare trait is even more fascinating. Rare trait number 3, complete heterochromia. Now imagine looking into someone's eyes. At first, everything seems normal, but then you notice something extraordinary. One eye is a deep ocean blue, while the other is a rich golden brown. It almost looks as if two completely different people share the same face. This rare condition is called complete heterochromia. Instead of both eyes having the same color, each eye develops a completely different color. This happens because the amount of melanin in each iris is different during development. In most cases, it's completely harmless and doesn't affect a person's vision. But because it's so uncommon, people with complete heterochromia often attract attention wherever they go. Many people assume it's caused by colored contact lenses, but for these individuals, it's completely natural. Now think about it. A person who belongs to one of the world's smallest ethnic groups, who also has albinism and now has two completely different colored eyes. The odds are becoming almost impossible, but we're still far from finding the rarest human on Earth. Rare trait number 4, left-handedness. Take a look around you. Almost everyone writes with their right hand, throws a ball with their right hand, or naturally picks up objects using their right hand, but every once in a while, you'll meet someone who does everything with their left hand. This is called left-handedness. While it may not seem unusual at first, only about 10% of the world's population is naturally left-handed. For centuries, scientists have tried to understand why some people are born this way. Even today, there isn't one simple answer. Researchers believe it's influenced by a combination of genetics, brain development, and environmental factors before birth. Throughout history, many famous artists, athletes, inventors, and leaders have been left-handed. But despite that, they still make up only a small part of humanity. Being left-handed isn't a superpower, and it isn't a disadvantage either. It's simply another fascinating example of how human biology can create incredible diversity. But if you think that's impressive, the next rare trait changes something we all take for granted: the way we see colors. Rare trait number 5, tetrachromacy. Now let's talk about something that sounds almost impossible. What if I told you that two people could be looking at the exact same rainbow, but one of them is actually seeing millions of colors the other person can never see? It may sound like science fiction, but scientists believe this ability really exists. It's called tetrachromacy. Most humans have 3 types of color-detecting cone cells in their eyes. These 3 cones allow us to see millions of different colors, but in extremely rare cases, a person is born with a 4th cone cell. That extra cone gives the brain access to an entirely new range of color information. Imagine looking at a flower. Most of us would simply call it red. But a tetrachromat might see dozens of different shades of red that look completely identical to everyone else. Their world could be filled with colors that the average human brain simply cannot perceive. What's even more fascinating, scientists believe this rare ability is found mostly in women because of the way color vision genes are inherited. However, not everyone who has the 4th cone can actually use it. The brain also has to process that extra information correctly. That's what makes true tetrachromacy exceptionally rare. And just when you think the human brain couldn't become any more extraordinary, the next rare trait isn't about seeing more, it's about remembering everything. Now imagine waking up tomorrow and remembering almost every single day of your life in incredible detail. Not just the big moments, but ordinary days too. What you ate for breakfast, what clothes you were wearing, what day of the week it was, even the weather outside. For most of us, those memories disappear over time, but for a handful of people, they never do. This extraordinary condition is called hyperthymesia, also known as highly superior autobiographical memory, or HSAM. People with HSAM can recall personal events from years or even decades ago with astonishing accuracy. Ask them about a random date from their past, and they may instantly tell you exactly what happened that day, what they were doing, and how they felt. Scientists have studied this rare ability for years. Interestingly, it doesn't mean these people have a perfect memory for everything. They don't automatically remember every phone number, every math formula, or every page of a book. Instead, their extraordinary ability is focused mainly on their own life experiences. As amazing as it sounds, many people with HSAM say it can also be emotionally overwhelming because painful memories don't fade the way they do for most people. Every joyful moment, every embarrassing mistake, every heartbreaking experience can remain just as vivid as the day it happened. It is one of the rarest and most fascinating abilities ever discovered in the human brain. And now, we've explored 6 of the rarest human traits known to science. But here's the real question. What happens if one person somehow possesses all of them at the same time? Let's find out. Could this person actually exist? When scientists combine the probabilities of these traits, the final odds become almost impossible to imagine. We're not talking about 1 in a million or 1 in a billion, not even 1 in a trillion. The probability could be less than 1 in a septillion. But how big is a septillion? Here's a way to imagine it. Scientists estimate that there are around 200 sextillion stars in the entire observable universe. A septillion is about 5 times larger than even that mind-boggling number. And here's another comparison. Scientists also estimate that all the grains of sand on every beach and desert on Earth add up to only around 7.5 quintillion grains. Compared to a septillion, that number is so much smaller that it barely scratches the surface. That's how unbelievably rare this combination could be. Which means It's entirely possible that no human being in the entire history of Earth has ever possessed all of these traits at the same time, and that's exactly what makes this thought experiment so fascinating. And maybe that's the most fascinating part of this entire story. The rarest human on Earth may not actually exist. It might simply be a theoretical combination of some of the rarest traits ever discovered. But here's something even more incredible. Every single person alive carries a completely unique combination of DNA, experiences, memories, and personality. There has never been another person exactly like you, and there never will be again. So while we may never meet the rarest possible human, we are all living proof that human diversity is far more extraordinary than we often realize. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Which rare human trait surprised you the most?